All right. So, again, thank you for being here. I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to talk today about Nature and kind of what y'all do in the product. First, just tell us a little about yourself, where you're from, kind of your educational background, things that you do in your free time.
Sure,
Just tell us a little about you.
sure. So my name's Nir Salman. I'm originally from Israel, and I live in Boulder, Colorado for the past 2 years now as part of the operation of Nature. I'm the founder and director of the Integrative Medicine Unit at Sheba Medical Center in Israel, which is the largest hospital in Israel. It's one of the leading hospitals in the world, and we have a very unique gastro department there, which is the again world leader in inflammatory bowel disease research. And I am a co-founder and head of R&D at Nature.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So, what's unique about the hospital at Sheba for inflammatory bowel disease? I know you said integrative medicine and gastroenterology. So, what's explain kind of what that is?
Okay, right. So first of all, we have led by Professor Shamon Ben Horin, who is the head of GI there and one of the leading KOLs in the world in inflammatory bowel disease. We've been doing a lot of research for for biologics and inflammatory bowel disease and other indications. But what happened since the foundation of the integrative medicine unit back in 2009, 2010, is that we've been thoroughly involved in research and development of herbal compounds, nutraceuticals for inflammatory bowel disease as well. So the climate in Israel in terms of research is a bit more permissive in the way that we can do these kind of research for non-pharmaceutical compounds. So we sort of use that unique ability to really go forward and extend our research capabilities not only into pharmaceuticals such as biologics, but also into really developing other nutraceutical, non-pharmaceutical options for patients and taking them through a very rigorous scientific route, doing not only lab works on cell lines and so on, but actually performing clinical trials in humans, placebo-controlled trials, allowing us to show the efficacy and safety of these compounds for patients.
That's awesome. And that's one thing I really like kind of about the product is that it is going through the rigor of science and the scientific research aspect of
Yeah,
it because you don't see a lot of that with these types of nutraceuticals or kind of like non-biologic therapies that we have out there.
yeah.
So I really like that about it. So
Yeah, okay.
what?
It's actually, I was sorry to interrupt, but it's
Oh
actually
yeah,
the result of two things, as I said. First of all, most companies just don't put in the effort for doing these kinds of trials are very difficult to do, and a lot of times they're very expensive as well. And both these, so a lot of companies just don't take that extra measure of really proving them in a gold standard scientific manner as we do. And the other thing is, as I said, that it needs a certain climate that allows it in a regulatory sense. So we had both the inclination, both the incentive, and the ability to do these. And we think that's the way it should be done because at the end of the day, there are a lot of herbal compounds out there, a lot of supplements. Some of them may be effective, some of them may not be, some of them may be safe, maybe some of them aren't. And the only way to really prove this in a way that we can feel comfortable in addressing patients' needs and treating patients is if we take it through that rigorous scientific route with the gold standard clinical trials.
yeah. And I completely agree. I think it should be done that way. I mean, I completely understand that it's expensive and things like that, but I feel like if you want to really get into the market and also get the acceptance from physicians and scientists and even the patient community, I think it's very important to do that. Just because, again, it's not done for a lot of these types of supplements and nutraceuticals.
Yep.
So, what was kind of the motivation behind creating Nature and getting into this? What kind of motivated you all to really get into this space and go through the rigor and everything like that?
So there are a few problems in inflammatory bowel disease, in medicine in general, but specifically in inflammatory bowel disease. First of all, there's a what we call low therapeutic ceiling with current pharmaceutical treatments. We're just not able to reach a high rate of remission in patients using conventional treatments. It's not a secret. I mean, when you go to any medical conference in IBD now, that's probably what they'll say at the beginning of each session about how we need to improve the efficacy of the treatments that we have. Second thing is that the way we administer medications today and the way we stay in contact and follow up on patients is also a bit backdated. I mean, since COVID especially, everything's gone digital. Everything's gone through telemedicine now. And the way that the medical system works just hasn't caught up yet. So what we want to do in Evi Nature is address these two gaps. One of them is to find a herbal supplement, a nutraceutical that can really break that therapeutic ceiling and add significant efficacy to patients. And that's how we developed CurQD. So CurQD is a nutraceutical compound that we've shown in these clinical trials to be very effective as an add-on strategy. What that means is no matter what medication the patient is taking, if he's not doing well enough, if he or she is not doing well enough, they can add CurQD to their current medication and add significant efficacy to their treatment. So that reduces possibly the switching over drugs to a new one, which nobody knows whether they'll respond to that drug or not. So it can reduce that escalation of therapy within the drugs. So it has a lot of advantages, and this is what really caught the eye of a lot of physicians that we work with. The second thing that we did, the second gap that we address is that behavioral gap. Patients are not really adhering to treatments as they should. Some of these are very difficult. If you're getting an infusion every 4, 6, or 8 weeks, getting to that infusion center, getting that approval through the insurance company, everything is sometimes a hassle. And a lot of times patients just don't want to adhere to this because of potential side effects. So using what we call the patient support program that we've established, which is a digital patient support program, we're able to maintain high adherence and collaboration with patients, allowing them to be more attentive for what they're feeling, they have an address they can really relate to. If something goes wrong, we can monitor them for efficacy and safety. They can have a lot more communication through the patient support program, so we have a lot closer monitoring on them. So not only on one hand increasing the efficacy of the treatment by adding on CurQD, on the other hand, we have closer monitoring so we can adjust the treatment faster than what they usually have the ability to do with a pharmaceutical.
Okay, that's awesome. That makes a lot of sense. So what's in the product, and why was it thought that it would help IBD specifically?
So the CurQD is a product that we took about a good 12 years to develop. It started off with one compound that we had there, which is a gut-directed form of curcumin. Curcumin is a very widely available and well-known anti-inflammatory agent, but we wanted to standardize that curcumin to a 95% purification level. And then what we also did is develop it in a way that reaches high concentrations in the gut, in the intestinal mucosa, designating it specifically for inflammatory bowel disease and possibly other gastroindications as well. And we tested that back in 2015 for mild, moderate ulcerative colitis. And in a placebo-controlled trial, we were able to show high efficacy for patients who were not fully responding to their medication. But once we did that, we also wanted to find something that can help more refractory patients with moderate severe IBD. And that's when we added on a very specific form of an indigo plant, which we call QD. And together we formed the CurQD protocol, which is a combination of these two nutraceuticals. And then we went into another effort of a placebo-controlled trial using the combination itself for patients with moderate severe active ulcerative colitis who are failing pharmaceutical treatment. In fact, 50% of those patients were failing biologics or small molecules. So we added on this treatment to the patients who were not fully responding, had significant efficacy in maintaining them. Actually, we saw over 80% significant clinical improvement within a period of 8 weeks. And the whole CurQD protocol is not just a combination of these two, but actually a whole strategy of how we use this and we adjust it all the time. We have 6 different CurQD protocols, which we named after different colors. We have the red, orange, yellow, green, blue plus, and blue. And the whole idea is to tailor the treatment, personalize it as best we can, and based on the patient's symptoms, severity of disease, concomitant medications that they might be on. We have a whole algorithm that can tailor the treatment. And then, based on the patient's response, we adjust the protocol following up on the first one. So it's not only personalized, but it's also adjustable. So with that way, we have very unique strategy to really address patients' needs.
And there's like a survey, right, that patients take and kind of go through their symptoms and things like that to help personalize that, correct?
Yeah, not really a survey, more of an assessment, which is clinically validated. It's a unique assessment. It took us a long time to develop and a lot of effort, but we're very proud of it because it uses actually validated disease indexes, the same ones we use in clinical trials. And it's very user friendly. You can go do it within, a few minutes over the internet, through our website. And at the end of that assessment, you'll be recommended one of the CurQD protocols based on the answers that you give. So that way that's the way we personalize it. And then once the patient orders it, if you can start the treatment within a few days, they go into a sequence that's followed up by our support team, which then adjusts the treatments based on the patient's response. So let's say you start off with a green protocol. If you're doing well after 6 weeks, because these are 6-week protocols, each of them, so let's say you're doing better, you might be tapered down to the lower protocol, which is the blue plus. If you're not doing well enough after the 6 weeks, maybe we'll taper you up, or maybe we'll bounce you up to the yellow protocol. So it's very much adjustable, and then after a while, we can just get you into those lower protocols, the blue and the blue plus, and maintain remission over time with those.
Are y'all seeing a lot of uptake of kind of this within the IBD clinics here in the US?
Yeah. Yes, we are. We actually integrated this into over 40 medical centers in the United States, including well, a lot of the big hospitals. So this was very important for us. It took, again, a lot of effort, but it was really important for us to get the medical community on board. This is not just something that we addressed only the patients. We wanted their doctors to know. We encouraged very much doctors not only to refer patients based on each patient's needs, but also if a patient approaches us and says, hey, I want to start CurQD, say, great. We can also get in contact with your doctor to have him on board. It's important for them to know that you're being treated simultaneously with CurQD along with your medication. So when the next time you have a doctor appointment and you feel better, the doctor might know why that actually happened. So this communication is really important, because we put a lot of effort into that.
Yeah, and I agree. I think it's very important for patients who want to do this to loop their medical team in just so they know that, hey, we're on this and
Yeah,
this is what we're doing, et cetera. And also can bring a little awareness to it if the physician's not yet come across it. So I think that's really
yeah.
cool.
So
All right.
that's actually gone a long way. We've done a lot of progress in that field, and just recently, in a few of the leading IBD conferences in the United States, there were independent studies from different groups. For instance, University of Chicago presented a study of patients from their who were treated with CurQD, patients from their center. So they presented their own experience with patients who were failing their medication, and then added on CurQD and achieved significant results. There was a study that was presented by a doctor from Mount Sinai in New York, a paper that was presented from Vanderbilt University. So we're really encouraging this not only to use it to get doctors awareness, but also to get real world data. It's really important for us to know, not only what we see, but also what the doctors see on their end about the efficacy and safety of this treatment.
Yeah, and I think that's also really important to have that, and really cool that these medical centers and physicians are taking this to do that of their own studies to kind of help not only help you all, but will help their patients as well.
Absolutely.
So are y'all so kind of what's next for Evan Nature? Are y'all continuing studies? Are you tweaking treatments?
All the
What's
time.
next?
All the time. So many avenues to approach now. It's an exciting time for Every Nature right now, because we've established a strong position and awareness both among patients and in the medical community. But there's still a lot of work to be done. I mean, research is something that doesn't have a hard stop at any time. There's
Yep.
always something more that we can do. Will this be good for other indications? How can this be used in conjunction with other medications? Can it be used as a combination treatment right from the get-go, right? But when you're starting a medication, should you start CurQD along with it? We already have preliminary evidence that this has shown higher efficacy when you start medication together with CurQD, but this needs follow-up study. So there's always a lot to do, and basically make the CurQD just more accessible for patients, making their doctors aware of how it should be used and how to follow up on it, making patients aware of the same thing, making them make sure that they're following it up and using the patient support program to continue adjusting their treatment accordingly, getting in contact with their physician. So a lot of opportunities ahead, and we're trying to really approach as many as we can, and trying to keep it within our bandwidth.
Yeah. Which I think is great. I mean, obviously, science is ongoing constantly, especially when it comes to treatments for IBD and things like that. So I think it's really cool that y'all are continuing to push for different avenues and more awareness and accessibility, which I think is very important. Um, is there anything else you want to talk about? I mean, we've covered a lot. I think we've covered some data. We've covered kind of what's the motivation, what's in it. Anything else that you think the community needs to know that we haven't touched on?
No, not really, but I really do encourage patients, and a lot of them are really doing this. Just be knowledgeable. Okay, anything that you take, and you should be in conjunction with real evidence. Don't just pick something off the shelf and say, "Oh yeah, I heard that curcumin or whatever could be helpful for my IBD." You have to really go deeper into that. There's a lot of information online that you can get, and really consult with your doctor. Reach out to our team as well. Look, go through the assessment, see what recommended you. If you have questions, that's what we're here for. Just reach out to our support team, and they'll give you the information to see if you're suitable, if CurQD is a good fit for you. If it is, we'll recommend how to start and keep you updated and follow you through.
Yeah, and I love that. I think that's super important too. I mean, there's so many things out there that, patients hear about and think, that we can just go buy it off the shelf. But, there are a lot of times you don't know exactly what's in it or the purity or things like that. So I think that that's very important and very important to keep your physician in the loop as well. Just because, you want them to know what you're doing and everything like that because it can impact your care and in general ways.
Exactly. So actually, when you touched on that point, maybe we didn't emphasize it enough, but quality control is a huge
Yes.
issue, especially in supplements. Pharmaceuticals do have that advantage over supplements, over the food supplement industry. They do go more through more thorough quality control manufacturing, which is unfortunately not the standard for a lot of food supplement companies. We put a lot of effort into that. We actually not only produce it in CGMP facilities, which are the same, practically the same standard as pharmaceutical, but what we've also done is standardize using a unique assay that we developed, standardize the levels of active molecules within CurQD. So not only do we know that it is void of pesticides or heavy metals and all that, which should be the standard. Unfortunately, that even that is not followed up by a lot of food supplement companies. But not only do we know that it's not contaminated in any way, but we also know that the levels of the active molecules inside the supplements are just the way just in the range that we want them to be. They're not too low. We've seen batches coming in that have been just too low and therefore not effective. We've also seen some of these that have been too high, and we don't use those for safety reasons. So only if they're in a very specific range do we use them for our clinical work and clinical care. So that's something that's really important that we hope that in the future more food supplement companies will use the same standards as we do and as the market should use.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's awesome too. Just because there's so much out there that, like you said, the quality control for a lot of this stuff is not where it should be, and
Yeah,
people aren't. And I don't think people are aware of that either. Patients aren't aware that the quality control for a lot of these things that you buy off the shelf is not where it should be. And so
not at all.
I think that's super important, and an issue that I think patients have run into as well. And I think that's an issue with that a lot of medical clinics and things like that have as well because they understand that the quality control with some of this stuff is not where it should be. So knowing that the nature is taking that step, I think is really good.
Absolutely.
Then I think there's just one question. Have I had experience with it? I have actually. I have done, I think, two protocols at this point, of the CurQD protocol. And so I've had a decent, good experience so far. I've had some issues. I recently switched therapy due to losing some response to my other therapy and added this in to help, and it definitely helped in the interim. I think I'm a few weeks into my one of my second protocols. So yes.
Excellent. So that's a good case. Again, I'm not going into too much detail about your own case, but exactly those patients who are, if you're there's what we call secondary loss of responders. Their medication worked well for a while, and then they started to lose efficacy. So that's a good, before switching over to a different medication or before escalating the dose, adding on CurQD to see whether you respond or not is a good option because we've shown in our clinical trials that response to CurQD is very fast. So within 4 weeks, you're going to know if it's working or not for you. If it's not, great, move on to your next option. But if it is, you may have spared yourself escalating your pharmaceutical treatment.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, I don't think I have anything else. I think that we covered a lot. I'm excited to kind of share some of this information back out as well after this. But thank you so much for joining today. I really appreciate you taking the time and talking about this. I know that this is a topic that's come up in our community. A lot of patients are now becoming more aware of nature and have questions. So I think it's really cool that you've taken the time to talk to me today, and I can't wait to share some more of this out.
Excellent. Happy to do so. Best of luck and health to all.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.